nature nerds. Today's nature nerding excursion is going to take place down a dirt road and actually in the backyard of where I grew up. And I think that it's short but it's sweet because it's fun to know what ways we can nature nerd no matter where we are, even if we're staying home and we're not driving anywhere. Today I have some nature nerding buddies who prefer to remain a little bit more distance from the camera. It's my mom, my dad, my brother, and our dog Bella. Looking at what I can see in my own yard, and one of my favorite features of the yard that I grew up exploring and playing in is that there are several bird feeders, and I just love looking at who comes to visit the feeder, how it changes from one season to another, how the birds interact, birds and other animals interact, and I think that I'm going to choose my species of the day as one of the more common visitors of the bird feeders, both here in my backyard, but likely in your own backyards or in your neighbors' backyards and what have you. I've chosen my species of the day. Let's listen for him. How happy does that sound make you? So if you haven't heard that sound before, maybe you haven't noticed it, or maybe you have but you just can't quite put your finger on it, that is the melodious sound of the black-capped chickadee. And I've chosen that little guy as my species of the day because he is a personal favorite. These hardy little birds, they're so small, but they're so resilient. They spend entire winters out, same climate as us, and they can't go and hide away in their houses. They have to deal with it. So I'm camping out here, trying to be super low key and see if some chickadees will head back to the feeder. Can you hear them? Ooh, some friendly little birds. They're scrapping over there. So while I'm waiting for some to come visit the feeder, do me a solid by showing themselves. I'm going to talk a little bit about the chickadees. They're one of the birds that we're going to see year round. It's pretty awesome. They add a little bit of life to the landscape when everything else kind of shuts down or goes down south. Hang on, let's see if I can get him. There we go. And they're pretty fascinating little birds because what they do in the fall is they'll go about collecting food little pieces of food, so insects and nuts and seeds and berries and stuff like that, and they'll hide them in kind of the nooks and crannies you can find in nature. So in between the branches, in the crotches between branches, and underneath pieces of bark and stuff. And of course, hiding that stuff is well and good, but they need to be able to find it at some point, right? And they have this incredible adaptation that allows them to find all of these food items come winter. And that adaptation is actually brain growth. No, you did not mishear me. Brain growth. So every fall, the hippocampus, part of the brain responsible for memory, in the chickadee will grow by up to 30%. So its capacity, the little chickadee's capacity, there's one. A nice black cap, black chin, white cheek, black-capped chickadee. So as I was saying, their brains grow by 30%, and that allows them to have a much better capacity for remembering where they placed their foodstuffs for the winter. And then, come spring, when they no longer need this feature, it goes back to its usual size. Isn't that amazing? I know the first time I learned that, I was floored. These little unassuming birds that you can see pretty much everywhere, that look kind of plain because you can see them so often, you kind of become immune to how adorable they are. They have this fascinating adaptation that allows them to tough out our super harsh winters. That's just one of a couple of adaptations. I thought I'd just mention that one though, because I think it's out of this world. Yesterday, I said that I would take the opportunity to go over the word of the day that I presented to you, which you remember the word was biophilia. So this is a personal favorite, and I thought it was a very appropriate word to start on. Biophilia is basically a term that is used to describe that innate, instinctual attraction that we have to nature. Now, some may say, I don't know how instinctual it is. I'm actually quite uncomfortable out in nature. And I'd say that you're not alone. There's a lot of folks that are a little bit less comfortable out in nature. There's lots of factors. In the summer, there's bugs, there's dirt. There's a lot of things that can make us a little bit wary of that, of being in the outdoors environment, being up close and personal with it. But when you look back to when you were a kid, or you think back to when you were a kid, those hang-ups that we had about spending time in nature were virtually non-existent, right? We just wanted to get our hands on everything, and we wanted to know what everything was, and we wanted to touch things, and we wanted to move around and be and play and just kind of get our bearings out in the natural world. And so biophilia kind of nods to that basic instinct or need or desire to affiliate and get to know and be in contact with the natural world. And I think it's really a beautiful word, and it's kind of a phrase that I use at the heart of all of my nature education communication pieces. Whether I'm guiding a hike, it's a little bit of my guiding star, if you want to say, the notion of biophilia. So I hope you enjoyed that one. It's really exciting this time of year when the snow starts to melt, it gets warmer, and life just seems to start bubbling to the surface at last.